Hey friends. Once again, it is Sister Rashida. I'm so happy to be with you today. I told you guys this is my favorite part of the week. And today I am coming to you to talk about bad things. And I know you may be thinking, Sister Rashida, why do you want to talk about bad things? Like, why do you want to do that? But have you ever sat and thought, why are bad things happening? Why do bad things happen in the world? Or why do people choose to do bad things? Or why sometimes when my mom or dad or grandmother or grandfather or auntie or uncle want me to do something that I probably should do, I just don't want to do it. So we're going to talk about that today and how these bad things came about, and for us to think about what we can do as Christians to make sure that we fight those bad things. And the only way to fight bad is with good. Can you say that one more time? The only way to fight bad is with good. Good job. So today we're going to talk about the very first sin. Sin can be something that someone does that is bad. It can be a bad thought. It could be a bad action. Maybe you're going to do something that's bad, or someone else is going to do something that's bad. It's just anything that you know is not the right thing to do. And that's what we call sin. So we're going to start back up. Last week we talked about Adam and Eve and how they came about and how God created this world in 7 days, and why it's really important, especially during school, for you to get your rest, because if God can rest, we can too. So today we're going to continue talking about Adam and Eve, and we're in our handy dandy the Bible app book. If you do not have it, it is fine. You can ask your mom or dad or a guardian to download it on the phone. Even though I'm going through the story today, you can go through the story at home too. And I hope that you go through the story and talk to your parents, talk to your friends, talk to your brothers and sisters about it. So actually, that's your homework for the week. Talk to someone about what you learned today. So let's start with the very first sin. So the first man and woman, Adam and Eve, lived in a beautiful garden. Can you imagine? It was all types of fruits and vegetables, because remember, Adam is there in the middle of the garden and tending over everything that God created, and it's absolutely beautiful, and God made it just for Adam and Eve. So they're there in the middle of all this beautiful, beautiful land. But Satan came, that's the devil, as a crafty serpent, that's a snake, and tempted Adam and Eve. So let's see, how did he tempt them? What did he try to get them to do? So he asked them, did God really tell you that you couldn't eat from this tree in the middle of the garden? And Eve said, yes, he told us not to eat it. He actually said if we eat anything from this tree, no matter how juicy and nice the fruit looks, we will die. And the serpent said, you surely will not die. There's a reason why God doesn't want you to eat all this beautiful fruit, because if you do, you will be like him, and you'll know what he knows. So unfortunately, Adam and Eve were convinced. So Eve ate the fruit, and she gave some to Adam too, who was with her. So she ate it and he ate it too. And at once, the serpent was right. They knew all types of things that they did not know before. One thing they knew is that they were naked. They sewed leaves together to cover themselves, and they never felt fear before. But now they felt fear, and they were ashamed. Have you ever been scared or ashamed? So some of those things came right from this story. Even those feelings. We never knew fear before sin or bad things. We never felt ashamed before sin took over. So when they felt these feelings, they knew something was wrong. Adam, in my mind, God has a deep voice. Adam. What does God sound like to you, right? So Adam called God. Eve. We're hiding, said Adam. We're naked. You know that because you ate the fruit that I told you not to eat. Didn't I sound like your mom when I said that? I know that you did it because parents know. And since God is our heavenly parent, he knows. Even before we make a bad decision, he knows. So God said, serpent, you must crawl on your belly. And humans can defeat you. So humans can fight you and kill you. And Eve, having a baby for you would be extremely hard and hurtful. And Adam, I gave you all this beautiful fruit and vegetables in this garden, but now you're going to have to work for it. And if you guys don't know anything, gardening is hard. It is not easy work. So then God made clothes for Adam and Eve and sent them out of the garden. So he sent them out of this beautiful place. But we have to remember that even though God was mad at Adam and Eve for disobeying him, God still took care of them. So that tells you not only a lesson about God, but also a lesson about your parents and guardians too. We may be mad at you for what you did in that moment, but we will still always take care of you. He put an angel with a flaming sword there so they could not return. So you see the angel with the flaming sword. All right. So let's talk about this for a quick minute. So we have to think sin was something that was created by Adam and Eve through a serpent who was really the devil, but kind of dressed up as a serpent or pretending to be a serpent and tempting Adam and Eve to disobey God. And I think we really need to think about two things, especially with the world changing, there being so many bad things and good things that are going on in our lives right now. We have to remember that it is really important to obey God. We know as Christians, we know when we're doing something right and when we're doing something wrong. And even when you don't know, God places people in your life, whether it's parents or whether it's your friends or whether it's, different family members, that even if you don't know what's wrong or right, they will guide you and tell you what's wrong and what's right. If you ever feel like you don't know what's wrong or what's right, you can pray. You can talk directly to God about it and ask him for his guidance too. Once you know what's wrong and what's right, our duty as Christians is to do the right thing. As we know, God will always take care of us. Our parents or our guardians will always take care of us. They're always there to protect us, to guide us, and to love us. But we still want to make sure that we do the right thing and that we don't disappoint them. So I hope that this was helpful this week. If you don't have that Bible app, feel free to ask your parents first, can you download it? And once you do, you can follow along the same way on the app as I do in the story. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I miss you so much. Once again, if you're interested in a craft bag and doing some crafts with me, let's do it. Have your parents text me. All right, have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hey, friends. This is Sister Rashida, and I'm back again for Bible story time. So if you have not done this already, please ask your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, your big sister, your big brother to download the Bible app. So just because you don't have this book, it is fine. You can download the app and read stories, or you can listen along to stories anytime that you want. So let's talk about last time. So last time that we met, we talked about Adam and Eve. Remember, God made Adam and Eve in his own image, right? And then he also placed them over dominion, meaning they were in control of everything else on this earth. So that was the animals on the land, the fish by sea, everything in this world they had access to. But also remember that they lived in this beautiful garden, right? And they can eat and enjoy anything in a garden except for what? The tree of life. It was one tree in the middle of the garden that they were not allowed to touch. That was the rule that God had for them, right? And do you remember what happened? They ate from the tree of life, right? And that was the one thing that God asked them not to do. Do you remember who kind of persuaded them and tempted them to eat the fruit off the tree? It was the devil that showed up in the form of a snake, right? So that taught us about sin. And sin is anything that we know that is bad. So sin can be doing something in action, doing something that we know we have no business doing. Whether it's something as simple as the things that happen at home, or what you're doing in school, whether you're in virtual school or whether you're in school. If it's anything bad that you're doing, that is sin, right? So you can sin in actions by what you're doing, but you can also sin in thoughts. So when we have bad thoughts about people or even bad thoughts about ourselves, that is sinful as well, right? And then that led us to feelings that we never experienced before. So remember when Adam and Eve ate the fruit off the tree that they were not supposed to eat, they felt feelings of feeling ashamed and feeling afraid. And these were feelings that we were never supposed to have, because God wanted us to feel powerful and not ashamed of ourselves and love ourselves just as much as He loved us, right? So sin introduced all of these bad things or bad thoughts and bad feelings, right? So today we're going to talk about what happened when sin started to spread, like coronavirus, right? So sin started to spread. It was all over the world and God was devastated. So what did He do about that? And we're going to talk about a hero named Noah, and what him and his family went through in result of sin happening all over the world. So we're going to open up our Bible app to a story that I like to call 2 by 2. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite things that me and Langston love to see. So every time that it rains, we run outside to see if we see one, and that's a rainbow. So we're going to talk about where the rainbow actually came from and why God created rainbows. So, sin broke our relationship with God, our loving Creator. But God still loved us. So even though there was sin in the world, God still loved us. And from the start, God had a wonderful plan and has a wonderful plan for us. So the earth filled up with people. Remember, it was just Adam and Eve, and now there's a whole bunch of people, right? But they sinned so much that God was sorry that He made them. He was like, oh, I made all these beautiful people, but they're doing such horrible things. Like, what happened? He decided to send a flood to wash away everyone on earth. But there was a man named Noah who was different from the others. Noah loved God, and his way of showing God that he loved Him was by obeying Him. It was by listening to Him. So I want you to keep that in mind too. You may love your parents and love your friends and love your family members and all of that. But the best way to show that you love your parents is also the best way to show that you love God is by obeying Him, right? By listening and doing what He tells you to do. So God decided to spare Noah and his family from the flood. So since Noah listened to Him, he listened to God. God said, I'm going to wash away this whole earth, but I'm not washing Noah away, nor him or his family. So God warned Noah about the flood. He told him, build an enormous boat. Look how big this boat is. This is like Titanic. And he wanted it to have a low roof, 3 decks, a window, and a door. In obedience, Noah built it. So check this out. Before this happened, it never rained on earth before. So can you imagine God telling Noah, hey, I need you to build this boat, and not a little canoe, not a little boat, but a big boat, like the biggest ship that you have ever seen. But remember, they never seen a boat because it never rained. So there was no need for a boat. So the reason why God trusted that Noah would build the boat, because Noah always listened to God. So he knew he can tell him, hey, I need you to do this, and Noah would do it. And then from there, God told Noah to collect 2 of every kind of animal. So we see 2 giraffes and 2 lions and 2 tigers and 2 elephants, all the bugs, all the creepy little things that Sister Rashida doesn't like that crawls on the ground. Then Noah and his family and the animals all went into this huge boat and shut the door. And guess what started happening? It started raining. And it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Water fell from the sky and rose from the oceans and the lakes. Even the tallest mountains disappeared in this flood. You could not see mountains. It was that much water. Meanwhile, Noah and his family and all the animals were absolutely safe because he listened to God. So God sent a wind to blow, and he got rid of all of that water. And they sent a dove out from the boat. When the dove returned to the boat, they knew it was still too much water out there. They couldn't get out the boat yet. But then they sent another dove out a little short while after some more wind had blown, and the dove never came back. So that's how they knew, okay, all the water is gone. It's safe to leave the boat. So when the ground was dry, God told them to come out of the boat. He put a rainbow in the sky, and the rainbow is a promise from God that he would never flood the earth again. So this really teaches us 2 lessons, right? So it may not be popular to obey, right? Whether we're obeying God or obeying our parents. We may think, oh my gosh, I don't want to, do this that my parents are telling me to do. Or, I know to do the right thing is to treat people nice. But what if I have to treat somebody nice who has been absolutely mean to me? Like, what if I have to do this? And we have to remember that when we obey God, when we obey our parents, it is the best thing that we could ever do. And really, they're looking out for us. So they're not telling them, hey, I want you to listen to me because I like it. It's like, no, I want you to listen to me because, like Noah, it could save your life. Listening to me could save your life. Listening to me could save your family. Doing the right thing, right? Doing the right thing. You could never lose. You can never lose doing the right thing. And then when you go outside after it rains, if you ever want to be reminded about how much God loves you and how much he wants you to not only love him, but he wants you to obey him. Whenever there's a rainstorm, afterwards, I want you to go outside and find that rainbow, because that's letting you know that God is still with us. He is surrounding us. He's listening. He's paying attention. He hears us. And more than all of that, he loves us. So I hope you enjoyed story time today, and I will see you sometime soon. Have a great week. Bye.
Welcome to Wednesday Evening Bible School. I pray all of my Holy Growth students have had a blessed week. We're finishing up our last week of Unit 1 dealing with provisions and still journeying with Moses and the Israelites in the wilderness. Moses' life can be studied in 3 sections of 40 years. Let us recap this first 80 years. We know that his first 40 years he was a prince in Egypt. Then the second 40 years of his life he was on the run, a shepherd in the desert of Midian. It is during this time he meets his wife Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro. Moses has 2 sons, one of whom name is Gershom, because Moses had said, I have been a foreigner in a foreign land, and the other, Eleazar, because he had said, the God of my father was my helper and delivered me from Pharaoh's sword. While in Midian, Moses answers his calling. He has an encounter at Horeb, the mountain of God, and there the angel of the Lord appears to him in a flame of fire that could not burn up. God spoke to Moses out of that fiery bush and identified himself as I am that I am. God has plans for his next 40 years. Upon Moses' return to Egypt, the Hebrews accepted him as their leader and spokesperson. However, it would not be the case when it came to the Pharaoh of Egypt. God worked through Moses to bring 10 plagues upon Egypt before Pharaoh would let his people go. The 40 years that the Israelites spent in the wilderness was a struggle for survival, with food and water problems, division among the people, murmuring and rebellion against Moses' leadership, and battle with their enemies. His authority was constantly challenged, yet God always kept his word and promised Moses that he would certainly be with him. This brings us to this week's lesson. It's coming out of Exodus 18th chapter, 13 through 26th verse, and it is titled, God Provides Judges to Help Moses. Students, I encourage you guys to continue to read your scriptures along with your parents. We will look at the help God gave Moses in handling the responsibilities of leadership and delegating authority. Our golden text is verse 20, and I'm going to read it from the English Standard Version. And you shall warn them about the statutes and the laws, and make them know the way in which they must walk and what they must do. Today we see a situation in which Moses needed help. He was acting as a judge for the Israelites. Any disputes they had would be taken to Moses, and he would tell them what God wanted them to do. But Moses was spending all day judging the people and neglecting his other duties. Jethro, his father-in-law, saw everything he was doing for the people, and he asked, "What is this thing you're doing for the people?" Moses replied, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God. Whenever they have a dispute, it comes to me, and I make a decision between one man and another. I teach them God's statutes and laws." Jethro tells him, "What you are doing is not good. You and the people will certainly wear yourselves out, for this thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to do it alone." Joseph tells Moses to collect a group of helpers to judge the people with him. Moses would still decide the really hard cases, but they could take the small ones, leaving him time to do other things. Students, we see in this lesson that God is continuing to provide for his people. He provided Moses with some outside help, a fresh set of eyes, to help recognize what Moses could not see. God uses Jethro to help Moses and can use others to help you. Accepting good ideas from others can help you serve the Lord well. And students, remember, God's work done in God's way will never lack God's supply. I pray this lesson has been a blessing to you all, and I can't wait to meet with you again next Wednesday to continue our study.